think that history is the reason why on Friday, when that news came down that MLS first teams would no longer be competing in this competition, it really created such a huge backlash from fans who have come to love this competition. And while the MLS calendar is only getting more and more congested and the league has to find ways to balance out these competitions, reduce the load management that guys are dealing with throughout the course of a season, to see it result in this competition being removed from the calendar, just, it hurt. It hurt to see it. And I come from the last 5 years covering a team in Sporting Kansas City who has had a lot of success in this competition and who has taken it incredibly serious. When I first started covering the team, it was when they won in 2017, and the last U.S. Open Cup game that I got a chance to call was when they played Union Omaha at Children's Mercy Park, a team that is made up of a bunch of guys who, to prep for the game, I was looking up on LinkedIn. I was looking up their LinkedIn profiles because there was no other way to find out about these players who were just pursuing this as a chance to find their way into potentially getting signed by a USL team or an MLS team. And for them, playing at Children's Mercy Park was the highlight. Watch them all walk out onto the field, taking videos, taking photos. It was just so remarkable to see their ownership group. They were the ones who mowed the lawn at their community field for the teams that would play. And those are just the stories that I think really drew fans to this competition. Charlie, I want to start with you, just your reaction to this, and yeah, what was it like reading that when it came down?
I'd like to say I'm surprised, but I'm not, given that MLS doesn't own the U.S. Open Cup, they don't control the U.S. Open Cup, and they don't make money from the U.S. Open Cup. We've seen this League's Cup being created because of the money, the business aspects of the deal. So if you're looking at Apple, you're looking at League's Cup and all the fixtures that now MLS players, they're putting miles on their legs now. If you're looking at one competition to lighten the load, this is the one that probably all the owners would say, let's get out of this competition. If we don't have to play in it, let's get out of it. But my argument would be, then just play the players who aren't getting minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just play some of the kids who are playing in your second team.
And that's an important note, is that the MLS Next Pro teams, which are all mostly, they are all second teams of the first team clubs, they're still permitted to play.
Because there are also going to be occasions where first teamers are injured.
Yeah.
And they're coming back from injury. That's what we've seen in England and Europe over the years. This is where you get to build your match fitness, because you're playing in games that aren't at a Champions League level or in the league level. So you can still get your minutes without paying the price of losing or not being able to play the full 45 minutes, 90 minutes. So in this case, I'm really disappointed that the league took this standpoint, because I get it. I played in this competition. I've been in it as a starter, and you look at this as like, man, I don't want to play an extra match. I don't want to play against a lower level opponent because I need the rest. I don't want to play against a team that's going to look at this like a World Cup, right? And you come in, you play these games, maybe it's at an away, you're playing away from home, and there's like 500 people in the stands. Yeah. The field isn't great, but at the same time,
also
that's
why we saw the upsets, right?
That's the beauty of it. And for the players you're playing against, this is their World Cup. In some communities, they don't get matches like this. They don't get to play against a professional team.
Do you think MLS outgrew this competition?
No. In no way, shape, or form do you outgrow this competition. This is a part of the culture. This is a part of the history. For those of us who have defended MLS, outside of the opportunity just for them to grow their business and the way they structure their soccer business and the way they want to grow the game in this country, for those of us who've continued to defend them, the one thing we've always had is they're continuing to be a part of the U.S. Open Cup, something that wasn't a part of their umbrella, something they didn't have control in, something that spoke to the culture of soccer in this country. MLS doesn't have a club, despite having so many clubs, doesn't have a club in every corner of this country. You can't expect them to. What about those players that are trying to work their way back into MLS, like we have in Birmingham Legion? What about those players who are hoping to get a view, just get a shine playing against a first team? What about those players that weren't developed, that were looked over? There's thousands of those. those
Yeah.
in our youth ranks.
And they're still being scouted.
They're still being scouted, but this was an opportunity for them to get a shine. This was an opportunity for them to play against one of the top flight teams in this country and get a moment to maybe get looked at, maybe get a bigger paycheck. This is part of growing the sport in this country. You can't continue to look at this sport as simply just a pocketbook. You have to, at some point, build the culture, and removing your first team from this competition is putting another nail in the coffin of the culture of football in this country outside of the markets you are in.
Look how big this country is. Even with 30 teams, players are going to fall through the cracks. There's too many kids that are looking to be developed and who are developing. So this U.S. Open Cup, because what USL does so well is it finds the other markets that don't have MLS teams. So now you're giving them an opportunity to play against an LA Galaxy, a Columbus Crew, and be seen, because now you're comparing players against players who are professionals. And then you could go, oh, this is a kid who's ready for this level, for this step, instead of watching them play against a USL team versus USL team.
Nigel, ready to let you cook here, because we did have Jeff Shreves weigh in and give some nice context to what is kind of going on right now with the Premier League, kind of dealing with a similar situation as MLS clubs, congestion of schedule, but also putting into perspective what the FA Cup means in a competition that you know very well.
You're playing with a leather ball. Like, what does that mean?
Remember that? They would have to wait for the dinosaurs to clear the pitch, and then you guys would come out and play.
Yeah, we did. It was great. It was fantastic. Yeah.
What was it like warming up with the Triceratops?
We had history and a culture behind it, and there was a desire. I think for me personally, it's just absolutely embarrassing. It's laughable to do this. And like Charlie's pointed out, you introduced the Leagues Cup. That's new. There is no history there. It's something there, and I understand there is always a business element. When people get into deep about, oh yeah, there's a business element of football, yes, that plays a part. But you can run your business in many different ways. For example, Brighton and Hove Albion in the Premier League, they nearly went out of business. But you look at how they do their business as a club with recruiting, with players that they're selling, you can do that and still be successful. Taking this and putting in your reserve side into this competition is embarrassing, in my opinion, for MLS and US soccer in general, because you're taking out opportunities and the dream to reach the next generation. You're trying to inspire the next generation of football. These guys covered it 100% well. There's so many kids who love the game of football. They're not going to get opportunities to join MLS Next Pro teams and be part of it. This competition provides an opportunity for lower league clubs, lower ranked clubs to play these MLS teams, to give themselves an opportunity to display their ability, where it could lead to them maybe being scouted or even signed by an MLS team. And to my career, my history, I came through Wimbledon. Wimbledon was not a glamorous club. But one thing that is different now is there was the glamour of the FA Cup. The FA Cup was one of the biggest cup competitions, and there was nothing better, that you still see it to this day, when these small clubs get the opportunity to play Premier League clubs. The only difference to what Jeff said is right. The Premier League now is so stacked with top international players that they can probably afford to not play their starters in the FA Cup. But better believe, when Liverpool meets a Man United in the quarterfinal or semi-final, they're both playing their strongest teams.
Yeah, it matters.
It does matter. It still matters.
And that was my next point. We're talking a lot about how this affects the lower league teams, but MLS teams still take this competition seriously. Are you going to tell the Houston Dynamo that?
Especially the ones that need a cup.
Yes. And how hard is it to win in MLS now?
Yes.
You've got so many teams competing for the creme de la creme of the MLS Cup, which, as we see year after year, is just becoming harder and harder to win. And the Supporters Shield, let's be honest, and a lot of players I've talked to, just doesn't carry the same amount of prestige. But I can tell you, the U.S. Open Cup is one that a lot of them take a lot of pride in, and some of their fondest memories are winning U.S. Open Cup.
My biggest thing is this. You guys obviously American. Are you not worried about inspiring the next generation?
Well,
this is the biggest thing that could inspire the next generation of players. There's so many young players playing for lower league teams where this is a great opportunity. This is where stories are told. And you say giant killing situations.
How about Magic of the Cup in England? The Magic of the Cup.
I think more importantly for people to understand, sure, for MLS owners, you aren't making the most money playing in U.S. Open Cup. But what you're doing at the grassroots level is growing the game.
Yes.
This is why this cup competition is so important, because you're growing the game. You're continuing to build these I guess, clubs from lower leagues, giving them an opportunity because they're working to play against you one day.
And they're developing players that you're eventually going to buy.
And eventually maybe they become
ambassadors.
fit.
They're ambassadors for the sport. And by the way, we should note that this isn't like ratified yet. This isn't confirmed. This is just, I don't know if it's been pitched or the plan is in place, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. So right now it's still in the stages where maybe this doesn't happen. But if it does happen, I know, hey, I agree with you. But if this does happen, this is putting for the lack of a better term, a bullet in a already wounded culture.
This is a long-term play, a long-term. You can't look at it through a lens of, I got to see the dollar signs now. This is growing the game over years, over decades.
And I do want to play devil's advocate here. I do think Leagues Cup helps grow the game here as well. America is very much a melting pot with a lot of very passionate Mexican soccer fans, and we did see some incredible crowds.
Mexican soccer fans are really happy that their clubs are pulled out of their country for a month to play.
I'm not saying that people are happy about it.
Do you think the competition would have been the same if Messi wasn't involved? Do you think Leagues Cup and Inter Miami story would have been the same?
I don't think MLS will be the same. I don't think.
I'm just asking.
No, I don't disagree. I think that it was a dream scenario for MLS to have the first ever iteration of this competition in its new form feature the greatest player of all time, who, by the way, was the greatest player in the entire competition. Oh, and then went and won it with an Inter Miami squad that was terrible in league play. Yeah, they got very fortunate in that regard. But I will say, having covered a few of these games, like the crowds were unbelievable, and the players, at least with Sporting Kansas City, did enjoy of opposing fans.
Like Ali Tro's barber right now.
But this is my point. As an outsider,
I'm just trying to spark some good conversation and debate, Alexis.
As an outsider looking in, I'm trying to think in my mind. Are you trying to inspire the next generation of American football fans, or are you trying to pick up more Mexico as a nation to come in and compete? Because for me, it's about your nation. It's about your players you're developing. Inspire them by putting more money into your US Open Cup. That's how you inspire, by creating great stories, creating a culture and identity. But there's so many different parts of America, because it's there.
MLS also isn't trying to, and again, I am on the side of we should find any and every way possible to keep MLS first teams competing in the US Open Cup. That is my stance. I'm just trying to see all the sides right now, as Alexis is very much in disagreement.
She's playing all the angles.
I'm playing all the angles, okay? MLS isn't trying to see how they stack up against a USL team. They are trying to see how they stack up against Liga MX.
Right, they don't feel like
I think that is more of a priority.
I think MLS doesn't feel like they're responsible for growing the game, growing USL's league, and I get that. But
that's why they pulled MLS Next Pro out of
ultimately, it's about growing the game as a whole, as a country.
100%.
And this competition is a big reason for that. It's a big proponent for growth.
This would be like baseball teams getting rid of their farm leagues. It would be detrimental to the sport.
Alex, just a quick one. Alexis, sorry, just a quick one.
I like Alex.
And people say this about the load of games of players, right?
Yeah. Hey.
Some of the top players in world football, the ones who play in Europe, they're playing at least 70 to 80 games a season. That's what comes with it. So I don't want to hear about taking the loads off players, because if you're a top player and you play for a big club and you're an international football player, you're going to play 70 to 80 games a season.
But is that right?
So
that's what comes with it.
You could have told your clubs, hey, don't play your starters in the early stages.
That's why you have squads.
You could have had this in a meeting. You didn't have to take the first division.
Hey, Al, what do you think about it?
Let
me tell you.